I got something to offer. If I was a young fella like you, I'd be mounting every woman in Wabasha. Beat the chain. You know, I've been to Hawaii.
Which island?
I kinda like a poker. You like a licky dicky? I'm a kinda kinky. Wanna peek a pee-pee? What do you say we go back to my place and I'll show you my spicy, peppy pepperoni? What do you say we go back to my house and I'll show you my man-sized manicotti? Beautiful. Why don't you come to my place? I'll show you my beefy bologna. Huh? No? How would you like my bony macaroni? Or my fatty Alfredo? Or my hard salami? I got 'em all.
Well, welcome into the Clear as Mud podcast with your host, PeePaw River. And today I'm joined by the one and only Mighty Miss Riv. How you doing, Miss Riv?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Great. Awesome. So anyway, just a kind of little brief, I guess you would say, kind of what to expect for what today is, right? So this was kind of put in my, I guess my head as an idea, by one of the supporters and viewers of of me. Let me find her name again. The Snow Queen. She had put out there, maybe to do kind of a quote knockoff of what a show Tommy C does called Love Phones. But anyway, we it's not really necessarily going to be a quote unquote love phones. We will take callers. So if you would like to, talk to me or the Mighty Miss Riv, you can hop in the waiting to call and we will pull you in. But basically, I just thought it might be kind of good for you guys to see why I am how I am and who I am today. Um, Not to, I guess, to embarrass Miss Riv or anything, but and I've said this numerous times, and I will continue to say it. I would not be who I am today. I would not be as strong of as a person as I am, and definitely would not have been as successful uh, without her encouragement and her love and her support, and sometimes just downright. I don't know what the word is, nagging, I guess.
Nagging.
Nagging, yeah. Telling me that,
Persistence.
persist,
Persistent.
there you go, persistence of telling me that I was a lot better than what I was, right? That I was a lot more um, successful, or I'd be a lot more successful than what it was, right? So, um, you know, I, so, me doing my morning streams or whatever, or doing this podcast or what have you, would not be possible without her making some sacrifices, and that is in time, right? And contrary to belief, people, the most precious and most valuable thing that you can ever give anybody, it's not money, right? It's not a house, it's not a car, it's none of that stuff. The most precious thing that you can give anybody is your time, right? Because once you give that to somebody, that you will never ever get it back, right? That time that you give, once it passes, that's it, right? There's no do-overs, there's no take backs, there's no nothing, right? So that's why it's so crucially important that when you are giving your time and your attention that you're giving it to the right person, right? Now, I squandered a lot of my time, as we all do when we're young, right? We squander a lot of our time. We think that we have just boundless and limitless amounts of time, and that's just not the truth. Um, as we get older, that's one thing that becomes painfully clear to us, right? That time is fleeting, right? And that's why it's such a precious commodity. So, with that being said, I don't want to sit here and be the one doing all the talking. I do want to give Ms. Riv, plenty of time to talk and thoughts and stuff. And so this is not something that she's used to doing. This is not something that's in her wheelhouse of comfortability. And so I'm very appreciative of her giving her time today to me, to us, to the channel. And she has told me that under no certain terms that, you know, um, that we got her for about 60 minutes, guys, and that's it. So we want to make very good use of this time. We do not want to squander this with her. So if there are any of you guys who are watching that would love to have a conversation or ask her, if you are a young lady and you're out there, maybe you're looking for somebody, or if you are married to somebody and maybe they're just driving you insane, you might could ask her, how did you put up with him? Right? Because that's a lot to put up with. I wholeheartedly admit I'm a lot to deal with. So if maybe of you guys have any questions like it, oh, and we have a caller. Do you want to talk to? How would you like to talk to somebody from Australia, baby love?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. So this is Aussie Wordsmith. Aussie, how are you doing today, hon? And I don't hear her.
Hello?
Oh, there she
Can you
is.
hear me?
I can hear you, hon. How you doing?
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing today in the land down under?
I literally just woke up an hour ago, and then I saw your tweet, and my heart went, "Oh my goodness!" And so I had to. I sat myself down. I was like, "Okay, we're doing this," and here I am.
Okay, awesome. So, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask Mrs. Riv, or would you like to ask me?
Mrs. Riv, I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's going to be a semi-serious one, I think.
Okay.
So, I am a young lady. I want to get married and have kids one day. And I struggle to find a man who will put the effort in for me. What are your tips or tricks for me to actually find that someone who will go and put that effort in for me?
How old are you? If you don't
I'm
mind me
20.
asking.
I'll be 23 this year.
Oh, girl, you got time. Number one, know your value.
Yeah.
Know what you bring to the table. Do not sell
Mm.
yourself short. He's out there. It may take him a little bit, but he's out there. And don't take the first one that comes along either.
Oh, don't worry. I think I'm up to do. I've gone through 6 young gentlemen, so I've been judgmental.
It's okay. I'm judgmental.
Amen. So I have a question for you, Aussie, because I think this is from a male perspective. I have a question, right? So you are looking for that somebody special that you can build a life with, right? That you can settle down, make a family, that whole bit. Okay. So ideally, what does a young man need to possess to or bring to the table that is going to be this? These are the qualities that you're looking for in a possible suitor.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm a very traditional woman. So I want to homeschool my kids. So the guy's got to have a suitable job where he can support the family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not going to do not sit around and not do my part. I'll have a hobby or something that'll bring in money as well. So I'm willing to work on my end as well. To have a stable job's got to someone who wants kids. I'm Catholic as well, so he's got to be Catholic. I do have those set things. I'm like, hey, okay, I actually want this in a dude. Like, I'm not just going around looking for the next random schmo who happens to give me any sort of interest.
Okay. So, question: when you say he has to have a substantial means of earning a income, I don't know. So what does that mean in Australia? So what kind of an annual income would that require to be able to support, say, you and a couple of kids?
Do you know what? It probably, like, most jobs here are like pretty well high paying, so it doesn't really matter what it is, but most of them tend to be pretty well, like, so I'm not really picky on the job, as long as they can show, hey, I'm actually earning money.
Mhm.
And because we also have like multiple, like the government here is quite helpful towards families and stuff, so they have like family tax benefits and stuff like that. So that doesn't really matter as much, just as long as they're showing, hey, I'm actually earning money, I'm actually working to save, I'm actually working with, like, hey, like, look, see, I'm earning this. This is what I'm earning at the moment, and like, because my dad's a teacher, like, and teachers are generally known to be very low paid, and I have 8 siblings.
Oh, Lord have mercy, hon. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll say this, and this is something that I've seen numerous, people like doing person on the street interviews, and I've seen people sit down and do like structured interviews with young people today, right? And when it comes to, there's young people who are getting to that stage of their life where they're starting to think towards, okay, I want to sit down, I want to marry someone, I want them to be able to take care of, support me, and so forth, right?
Yeah.
And I think the expectations that young ladies are putting on men are unrealistic today. And I'll give you an example. Now, so you said you're like 27, is that right?
23.
Okay, you're 23. All right, so a person who's 23 years of age, that's typically someone who will be finishing college, right? So you've had your 12 years of
I finished. Yeah, I've actually we got TAFE here. It's like a trade school, so I've got like two like TAFE degrees under my belt.
Okay, so you've completed your 12 years of basic education, or what we call here in the States, we just call it your K-12, right? And then you can go off and do 4-year, where you can get your bachelor's degree at a university or whatever, or you can go to like a 2-year school to get a trade of some kind, right? And so when they come out, they're 23, 24 years of age, such as yourself, and they think, okay, I've done this, so now I'm ready for the next stage. I'm wanting to settle down. I want to start looking at forming a family, so on and so forth. And so these young people are kind of hit with some really rude awakenings, because they think, okay, I've got my college degree, or I've got my trade, or whatever. I should be making 6 figures a year, and that's not realistic. Your average income for a person in the States who's got a bachelor's degree, depending again on what kind of a degree it is you're looking at the top end, probably $60,000 to $70,000 a year, and at the bottom end, you're looking at probably about $30,000 to $40,000 a year, right? And so the problem is young men or young ladies, either one, doesn't make a difference, who's just starting out their careers, right? They cannot meet these expectations because they can't. Because bottom line is this: you've got rent, or you've got a mortgage, right? And then you've got student loans you got to pay for, and so on and so forth, right? And so they cannot meet these expectations, because I see these young people, especially like, in a almost say traditional marriage, a man and a woman, right? Traditionally, the young ladies think, well, okay, I want to be a stay at home. I want to be my man needs to be making, 6 figures a year. That's not happening, right? That's not a realistic goal. But it sounds like to me that you don't necessarily have that. You just want them to be stably employed, stably bringing in
Yeah.
income, right?
Yes. Yep.
And so I think your expectations are right on par with where they need to be. I think what it boils down to is this:
Mm.
is it's just going to take some time, right?
Yeah.
Another thing I'll tell you, speaking as a man, when I was 23 years of age, 23, 24, I was
Mm.
not thinking about marriage.
Mm.
All I was interested in was still out there, um, living, as you guys say today, your best life, right?
Yeah.
And that's more normal for a person of that age, right? Um,
Yeah.
so if you're willing to find someone who's more of a mindset to set, to stabilize or sit down with you're probably going to look at a lot older guy, right? Some probably in their
Yeah.
30s. Now that in itself is going to bring some challenges. Okay.
Yeah.
You're 23. If he's in his 30s, you're talking about 10 years. Now, 10 years
Yeah.
of life experiences, that's a lot. It is. It
Yeah.
truly is. Um, so, like I said, that in itself could bring in its own challenges as well. But like my wife said, you've got plenty of time, girl. You know,
Yeah.
Mrs. Riv and I, we were how old were when we got married?
27.
Yeah. See, we were like, yeah, we were late in our late 20s before we got married. And
Yeah.
that's a whole nother story. I mean, that almost didn't even happen. So,
Yeah.
um,
Wow.
but and we might tell a story today about how all that happened. But
That
I
would be
would,
great.
yeah, I would say probably just kind of maybe just get yourself established in your own career
Yep.
in your own right. And because I'll be honest with you, until you kind of get to where you have gotten to where you're kind of established in who you are as a person, because
Mm.
I know at 23 you think you've got it going on. I got news for you. You don't. At 27 I didn't even have it going on, right? I thought I did.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say probably just go out and meet people, have fun, experience life, maybe do some traveling. Um,
Yep.
that kind of stuff is what I would say probably do at this stage of the game. I wouldn't be in no hurry to tie myself down, because I got news for you. When you add a spouse and you start adding kids into the mix, life
Yeah.
becomes very complicated and complex
Trust me.
and
I have, being the oldest of 9 has definitely
yeah.
given me those experiences.
Yeah. Well, okay. You got a smidgen. You got a little taste, because my wife and I are both the oldest. We both have 2 younger siblings, and so yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of it. But I'm gonna just tell you, it does not prepare you for what being the parent of a child is. Even though
Yeah.
you're the oldest and you had 8 siblings there, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother. I'm just telling you, it's a whole nother world. It really is. So.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what? But
And I'm going to interject here.
okay.
When you do find your fella, and you will,
Yeah. I will. Yep.
watch how he treats his mama. If he
Mm.
treats her with respect, he will treat you with respect.
Yeah.
If he talks disrespectful or down or anything to her, he will do the same thing to you. You need to run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Because if and that's just good. That's good advice, ladies. If you're listening out there, my wife is telling you the truth. I'm a mama's boy. She'll tell you I'm 100%. I am a mama's boy, and I take care of my mama. In every way I possibly can, and I treat my wife the same way. I take care of her
Yeah.
every possible way, because she is, um, not because she's just my wife, but she's also the mother of my children, and she's my partner. She's my, everything. So, anyway.
Mm.
And besides, if I don't have her around to keep me in check, my head would get too big. I'd get too cocky. So anyway, well,
Uh,
listen. Thank you so much for calling in today, Aussie, and we wish you the best
it
time.
was my
Okay.
pleasure.
All
It
right.
was my pleasure. Thank
All right.
you.
Have a great day, hon.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
All right. Well, that was Aussie. I've known Aussie. I've had conversations with her in the past. She's a sweet girl, and we hope the best for her. So anyway, I kind of talked about it and said, this almost didn't happen. So I guess I'll kind of tell the story a little bit. So when the Mrs. Riv and I were first introduced by a mutual friend, um, you really didn't like me, did you?
Nope. I thought you were arrogant butthole.
I was an arrogant butthole. Straight up. I had a bad run of luck with girls. And that was a problem. I was chasing girls, and I wasn't looking for a woman, right? A lady. And so it's a mindset, right? And so when you quit playing the little games, you quit winning the stupid little prizes. And so when our mutual friend introduced us, I was very cocky, very arrogant, and I had a very bad attitude when it came to women. Or girls, I'll say, because I really hadn't had any women. I hadn't really dated any women. I dated a bunch of girls, and so I don't know. At some point in time, I can't remember. Did you call me or did I call you? And we went out for a ride one evening.
You called me, and we went
Ah,
to lunch at Red Lobster on a Sunday.
well, yeah. Well, yeah. I asked you out on a date. We went out. We went to Red Lobster. And had whatever, and then you said, and I so at the end of the date or whatever, as I was driving you back to your place, I said I really had a good time. I think something along that lines, and would you like to do this again? And that's when you yeeted my ass. And that's about an accurate statement, right? I mean, you just crushed me right down to nothing. And is that about right? Am I remembering that right?
That's pretty close to accurate.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so after that, I didn't call you because I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this friend zone. I wasn't. I was like, no, I ain't doing this mess. And so some time went by, and I think you finally called me one evening,
It could have been.
and I think you asked me if I wanted to go riding out to the Sonic to go get a Coca-Cola. And so I think we went for a ride. She had this little S10 pickup truck, y'all. And she drove that thing like it was stolen. I'm not even lying. She had two gears. It was stop and wide freaking open. And she drove that thing like a bat out of hell. And so anyway, we went. I remember we went out riding around, whatever, and she jumped the railroad tracks and darn near put my head through the roof. And she just over there cackling like a mad woman. And I thought right then and there, okay, this one here is a tiger, and I think I want to grab her by the tail. And so that's when I decided right then and there I had to change my attitude and my ways and what have you. And so we kind of started hanging out, but we weren't dating because she wanted no part of me. I mean, you made that perfectly clear. I mean, right? I mean, that was.
Had to be friends first.
And there's another good point, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna tell you guys something, right? If you guys want a lasting relationship with somebody, if you're out there in the dating pool and you're dating or whatever, the person that you want to settle down with, the person that you want to do this thing called life with, right? Is they have to be your best friend. They have to be your best friend. They have to be there. And you have to love them like a best friend before you can love them as anything else. That's the only way you can make it. Because if you're anything else is just going to be lust or infatuation, and it's not a true love. Okay? So, yeah,
I ain't got time for that.
ain't got time for that.
I ain't got time for that.
So, Nixie Nax which is a dear friend of mine. She says Jace, who's her husband, says been her best friend since they were 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, exactly. So Nixie can attest that now, because her and Jace were best friends. Now their marriage that they have, and they've got two beautiful children, is probably as strong as any marriage out there, right? And they know where their anchor is in the storm, right? Because we all have storms that will come in our lives, and if we don't have that anchor, right, um, it's 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 a miserable time for you because you're just out there swirling around and getting swallowed up by the waves, and you feel like you're going to drown. And so, but anyway, on to our story. So I remember my mom and dad had came into town for a visit, and I had taken them out to dinner, and I'd asked you to join us because you and I had been hanging out and spent a little time together. But like I said, there was nothing romantic. I mean, there was no hand holding, there was no smooching, there was nothing. And we went out to dinner, and we came back to my apartment and whatever. And so you were going home. My mom and dad was there and everything. And I walked you out to your vehicle, and I can't remember. There was something a little bit different in the air that evening. And
Probably pollen.
yeah, probably pollen. But that was the first night that was that the first night we smooched?
No.
Huh?
Nope.
No? Well, there was something. I walked you to the car or something. You gave me a hug, or I remember there was something a little bit different.
Yeah. It's a hug.
It was a hug, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, hold it. What's
And
this?
I left you sitting right there.
And then she just left me. Exactly. Right? She just gave me a little hug and whatever, and she went on about her way. And then she was moving into a new place to live. And so she roped me into helping her move. So I came over and was, carrying her stuff, and we loaded up stuff into our vehicles, whatever, and was moving her over into this new place. And how would I put this? I was frustrated with the situation, I guess would be the best way to put it. Cause I was like, this it wasn't setting well with me. Cause I was like, I was really starting to like this young lady, but I couldn't make any progress. I was like, I'd done everything I knew to do. I had tried to be charming. I had tried to be smooth. All she ever did was just be smart alecky with me, just make fun of me, and just torment the living pee out of me. And I was like, I was at my wit's end. But I remember that day when I was helping you move into your new apartment. I think you could tell I was upset, and you said, and the hug that you gave me had confused me. And I think we finally kind of had it out, right? And I think that's when you told me that you were ready to kind of start dating. And that was our first kiss, wasn't it?
At that point, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And let me tell you something, y'all. She made my toes curl right up when she gave me that smooch. So anyway, But anyway, so we dated for a while, and then the job that I had at the time moved me. Um, how many? It was what, probably two, 2.5, 3 hours, something like that, probably, right?
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah.
And so here was this woman that I'd met that was unlike any woman I'd ever met in my entire life. And I was pretty smitten with her. And I mean, what was your thoughts when I had to move away like that because of the job? What was your thoughts?
Oh, remember that was a long time ago.
Oh, come on now. You can be
Um,
a little bit, you can,
I was probably it wasn't heartbroken, but I guess a little off center about it.
because I'd kind of done an Urkel on you, right? I'd kind of worn you
Yeah, you're
down.
like a fungus. You grown on me.
I'd grown on you.
Hmm.
I guess that's fair enough. Yeah. I'd kind of grown on you a little bit. But so I remember I came to the decision that this was a woman that I felt like I had as good a chance as any to make it through life with. And so I remember I went to my mom. I drove over to I called my mom one day and I said, listen, I'm going to come over because my mom and them lived, I don't know, like an hour or so away from me or whatever. I said, listen, I'm going to come over this weekend and I need you to help me. I'm going to go buy something for Miss Riv here. I was going to go buy her something. I said, and I didn't tell my mom what I was going to do. And I said, I need your help. And she was like, well, okay. But she didn't really know her because she just met her that one time when I took him out to, they came down, whatever. And we'd all went out to dinner, whatever. And, so anyway, me and mom, we load up and head out and, I go straight to the jewelry store, go in there. I said, I need an engagement ring. And my mom was like, she was taken aback and she says, are you going to ask her to marry you? And I said, yeah. I said, I said, I love her. And I said, I really think, you know, I said, she's the best woman I've ever met. I really think this is the woman for me. And my mom was like, okay. And so she helped me pick out a ring. And so the next weekend time that I had off, I drove to, where Miss
My
Riv,
location.
where you were living at the time. And um, I pulled up. And I pulled up and I got out of my truck and you come to the door and I said, hey, how you doing? And I walked right on past you and went and asked, I think I asked maybe where your dad was at. And you said, well, he's down at the barn. So I went down there to the barn to ask your dad, you know, uh, for his blessing, uh, to marry his daughter. And what was it he told me?
You was the one that's gonna have to live with me.
That's what he said. He said, you're asking the wrong person. And he said, secondly, let me tell you something. There is no return to sender on this. And you,
No, that was on the wedding day. No refunds, no return to sender.
no, he told me the day I asked his blessing for your hand, he said, there's no return on this one. You take it. It's like you buy you. That's it. There's no bringing it back. Right. So anyway, and that was in February, about the middle of February. And so now we're engaged and everything, and everyone's happy. We're everything. We're making plans, and we talked a little bit about setting a wedding day or what have you, and because of the line of work or the type of work she was doing at the time, she was like, "Well, we're going to have to do something probably it's going to be in the fall or the winter, because in the spring was a really busy time for her. And I was like, that's fine with me. A fall or winter wedding was cool with me. Because I was thinking about, every wedding I'd ever, been a part of, whatever, was always in the stinking summer, and it was always just hot. So I was like, that'd be great for me. So anyway, then out of the blue, I remember we were talking. And let me tell you something, guys. This was back before cell phones, right? So there was none of this unlimited calling. You back in these days, you had to pay for those long distance phone calls. There was no, but I remember the long distance provider I had on my landline had a deal where I could designate a couple of numbers that I could call unlimited, spend as much time as I wanted to, whatever, and call and talk to them. And of course, her number was one of them. And so we spent a lot of time talking. And I remember out of the blue, she hit me up and said, well, I want to get married in June. And I was like, this was like in like end of February, 1st of March, somewhere in there, whatever. And I was like, hold it. I thought we were getting married. She goes, I changed my mind. What she really was saying was she missed me and she just couldn't live without me no more, right? Because remember, we were still living. I was still living like 3 hours away, whatever, right? And she just, she just kind of had to get her hands on me, I guess. And so anyway, so finally we set a date and everything. Another one of them hot weddings, summertime weddings. And anyway, so her birthday came up. Now, her birthday that year was falling on, like, I think it was a Monday or something. And I called her like the Sunday evening and talked to her and wished her a happy birthday. We spent, because we were spending a lot of time on the phone talking stuff and making plans for the wedding and discussing things and what have you and everything. And so the next day, of course, was her birthday or whatever. And it was I remember it was a particularly busy day for me that day, work wise. And I didn't get home till I was like 9 or 10 o'clock that evening. And did I remember what I said beforehand about this was the day before there were cell phones, right? So it's not like I could just pick up and call her that day sometime during the day, right? And so I get home that evening and my answer machine had, I don't know, like 4 or 5 messages on it. And so I start playing the messages. And now this was back before you had all these robocallers and stuff, right? So you didn't have the just unsolicited messages. So if you had a voicemail on your phone, it was usually something of some importance, right? And so the first one is from Mrs. Riv, and it was jovial and everything. Oh, call where you at? I miss you. Da 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 da. And then the next one, which was a little bit later. Well, where you at? Da da. And each one of them got more perturbed in tone, and that's putting it mildly. The last message went something along the lines like this: I don't think I can be married to somebody who would forget my birthday. Click. I was like, what the hair? What the hair? I was like, I just called this woman the night before. I just spent all evening talking.
And it wasn't on my birthday.
Oh, yeah, it was not on your birthday. So I called her, and guess what? It was still her birthday because it had not hit midnight. So I called her. Now, She says she hadn't been crying because she's not an emotional person. So either A, she had been asleep, which I don't think. I think she was crying because she was really upset with me because I hadn't called her.
You'd be
And
wrong.
no, I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure you were crying.
Mm-mm.
And so I talked to her, whatever, and she's, and she's ticked off. I mean, she's as they say, she was mad at an old wet hen. And so I'm like, okay. So the next morning, bright and early, and this was before the internet, so it wasn't like I could go to Google and say, send flowers. That's not something. This was, so I had to call information and get the number of a florist. And see, everything, I'm going to tell you something. Every bit of this, what I'm telling you, costs me money, right? Calling information cost money. To get a phone number back then, to get a number cost me money. So that cost me money. Money I did not have, because guess what? I think I was making maybe $18,000 a year back then. I was not making anything. So I spent money I didn't have in calling information to get the number of a florist. And then this woman answers the phone, and I said, I need your help. And I explained her the situation. And she says, and she was like, oh, honey. I said, I don't think. She goes, oh, yes, you did. Okay. Because you guys understand something to me. Birthdays are not that big of a thing to me. But just because they're not a big thing to me, right? They are to my wife, which I learned that weekend. And this is where communication comes into play, right? So I had to spend a chunk of change on a big bouquet of flowers. I'm sure it was roses, to be delivered to her at work. And long story made a little bit shorter, we did get married, and I did get out of the doghouse. But here's the lesson to take away from that. Was even though we were engaged, and even though we had, we were best of friends, I still did not know everything. And that's why it's so important that when you're talking and you're spending time getting to know somebody, you have to talk about things. It cannot all be just fluff and nothingness, right? You have to talk about, serious things too, right? Because things that are not necessarily serious or important to you, like birthdays, are not a big thing to me. They are to my wife, right? And so I learned a very valuable lesson that, to always, acknowledge and make a big deal on her birthday. And it doesn't have to be with, flowers and bouquets of flowers and gifts and things like that. Is that she wants the acknowledgement that you thought of her, that I care enough to whatever. And so anyway, it's about love languages, really. What is the love language of your partner, right? And so now that I've kind of told off of myself and how big of an idiot I was. So what was it about me, Mrs. Riv, that finally got you to give this idiot a second chance at even dating you? Because,
You said it yourself. You urkled me. You wore me down.
I wore you down.
I was like, all right.
Yeah.
He's hung around. Let's see what he's made of.
So, any other advice that you would maybe give any young ladies that are listening and that are maybe things that from your own years on this planet that you've learned, just through things that we went through, or that from a woman's perspective. I've talked enough, is what I'm saying. I would like for you to give some of your perspectives as a woman to maybe, help some of the young ladies, because there's a lot of young ladies in the chat today.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't see none of that, so.
I know you can't.
Anywho. Look before you leap. Watch, observe before you leap into anything. See what's really going on. Get outside perspectives. Get your friends to jump in and give you some advice.
Yeah.
And I ain't talking about Johnny come lately. I'm talking about your friends. Your besties.
Yeah.
But I think the observing is the biggest one. You can sit back and watch things. You don't have to jump when they say jump, or jump into anything.
Yeah.
Take your time. Listen to your gut. Notice I said gut, not heart, not head, gut.
Why do you think it's more important to listen to your gut versus your heart when you meet somebody?
Heart's emotion.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's gut. To listen to the gut.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that emotional. So.
She's not, y'all. She's not an emotional person. So.
I'm not. Leonardo out there floating around at Titanic. Okay. Let's wrap this movie up.
When we were expecting our first son, we had a rare occasion where we had a little extra money, and we went to see this big movie that was like all the rage at the time, right? We caught a matinee movie or whatever. Titanic. And so we're sitting there watching this movie, and we get to that section of the movie, right, where Leonardo drifts off into the depths of the ocean, right? And all these women, and I mean, this auditorium full of women is just, they're just carrying on. They're
hoo and slinging snot, and I'm like, good night.
She was like, I'm ready to go get some nachos and fajitas. She was like, I'm hungry. And I don't know if it was just because she was pregnant or what, but she wasn't having it. She didn't care that Leonardo drifted off down into the, oh, Lord. Squatchin says, I would have moved over. There was enough room on that door for two. You're probably right, Squatchin. There was probably, because he wasn't a very big feller, and she was pretty slender too. So they probably could have both fit up on that board, but that's not how it was written, right? So whatever. But,
anybody else got any questions for us?
Yeah, we've got, guys, you got about 10 minutes left with the mighty Mrs. Riv. If any of you guys would like to ask her or myself any questions, hop into the waiting, and we'll try to answer those questions. See, we'll give them here a few minutes. If not, I guess we'll wrap it up a little bit early today. I don't really have anything else to tell. I think we've given them some good solid advice. Not to just jump into things, and to listen to your gut. Sit back, watch. I think the most important thing advice you gave them was to watch how they treat their parents, right? How they treat their mama, how they treat their daddy. Do they show them respect? Do they show them, grace? Do they show them kindness? Because if they don't, then chances are
you're going to get.
They're not going to. Yeah, you're going to get treated exactly how they treated their parents. So anyway, well, okay, well, we haven't had any more callers, so I would just like to thank my beautiful, lovely bride for joining me today. I know this is not the traditional type of thing we do on this show, but I got a message late last night from Banana, and he says he needed a little bit more time. He thought he was ready to come back, and he's not. And so I didn't have anybody lined up to do today, and then I saw the tweet out
You
there
saw an
by
opportunity.
I saw an opportunity. Well, I saw the tweet out there um, that the lovely Snow Queen had put out, and it got me to thinking, and I went and threw myself at the mercy of the mighty Mrs. Riv, because she's got a lot of stuff to get done today. My wife works constantly. Um, she works all weekend long. She brings um, stuff around the house, and then she also has stuff that work wise or what she does for a living, that she works and does stuff as well. So she, like I said, she was kind and gracious enough um, to give me this hour today, and I appreciate it. And
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
did you enjoy this? I hope it
I
wasn't
did.
too. It was. Hopefully it wasn't too much. Hey, and you got to
Well,
talk to somebody from Australia.
I did. That was
A-
interesting.
And y'all, I'll tell you what, she's been watching this series um that was set in Australia. What was it called?
Farmer wants a wife or something like that.
Yeah, Farmer Takes a Wife or something. And it's one of these dating shows, right? Where these Australian farmers, they bring in these different women onto their farm, and they try to, they get to know them, and they got to do stuff, and uh um they get to know each other. And some of these women have no experience whatsoever ever being on a farm or working on a farm, or anything about farm life. And
And that's funny.
yeah, because the wife grew up on a farm, y'all. Her father was I guess you'd call it a commercial farmer. He was small. It was just a small, but he had they raised what was it, soybeans, and
It was row crops and cattle.
yeah, and cattle. They had cattle, row crops and stuff. Uh, I'm gonna tell you something right now. When she and I first started dating, uh, and kind of stuff, I would during the summer she would help her dad in the hay fields, right? Because they would go out and cut hay for their livestock, and I'd pull up her and I'd go out because I'd be out working and stuff, but I'd get some time or whatever, and I'd go by the Sonic and get her one of them Route 44, you know, sodas and what have you, and would take it out there to her, and she'd come putting along on that tractor, and it was a big old tractor. I don't know how she got up in that thing. I'm gonna be honest with you, but she'd come putting across that pasture, and y'all, she had on these shorts and this top that would make Daisy Duke look like a nun in a habit, and I make my old heart go pitter pat, pitter pat. Whew. Let me tell you, smoking. She was smoking hot in that outfit. So anyway, all I could think of, boy, oh boy, she was all mine, and I was willing and waiting to fight for her. So anyway, and I'll just tell you, that's what you guys will want in your lives, is you want somebody that will fight for you. And when I mean fight, I'm not talking about here on the streets, in the streets running and fighting. I'm talking about fighting for your love, fighting for your respect, fighting for your admiration, fighting to be in your life, right? Where they make you a top priority, if not the priority. Um, so um, you know, because if they won't fight for you, then they won't fight with you, right? Or that doesn't come out right. If they won't fight for you, then anyway, you guys know what I mean. So anyway, well, we haven't any more callers, so I'm gonna wrap it up. Listen, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in today. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Um, you know,
If you didn't, we don't want any negative comments. Just tell you right now.
I want to tell you something right now, y'all. When I was talking to the wife about doing this, she's like, "You don't want me on there, I'll get you canceled." And I said, "Let me tell you something, honey. These people will love you a lot more so than me, because I'm just telling you, they'll just love you." And I've seen nothing but support in the chat. And so I'll just say this right now, honey, you are a hit. They do like you. Now I'm gonna tell you something, guys. She doesn't do the social media. She doesn't have no Twitter accounts. She doesn't have none of that mess. She don't have time for that. Because you know what? She thinks the internet's used for basically two or three things. She gets on there and she orders her clothes.
My
And
shopping
she does her
and my
shopping
work.
and her work, and that's about it. That's exactly right. All she does, and she watches her TV programs, right, on the streaming and stuff, and that's it. She doesn't. She doesn't. She's not like. She's not like us, right? Where this is consumes a lot of our life. But no, they say they want more of you. They want more time with.
I don't know if they can handle more.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, guys. I'll talk to her and I'll sweet talk her and rub her feet and what have you. And I'll see if I can maybe get her back some other time or whatever.
What's the top? What topics do they want? So I
Oh,
kind of have an idea. I would consider it. I might. I don't know. We'll
well,
see.
you guys, you're going to have to let me know. You guys can. I'll tell you what you do. You can either put in the comments down below, or you can send me some tweets. Tweet at me. And cooking. Aussie says they
Cooking?
cook.
What?
Guys, I'm gonna let you a little secret. I do about 90% of the cooking around here. I'm gonna just tell you, she doesn't do a lot of the cooking, and
Get home in time to cook.
exactly. She
Except on the
doesn't.
weekends.
Yeah, now she does cook on the weekends. She gives me a little break on the weekends, but I
But if
do.
y'all want to talk cooking, we can do it.
Yeah, she'll talk with you, sure. But I'll you guys tweet. I'll leave some comments down below. And if you guys would like to hear from her again, and we maybe talk about something, whatever. And who knows? Maybe I might even get her on one of my morning streams if she doesn't have to. If she doesn't have to go into work one day or something, maybe I can get her to one of my coffee with PeePaw. So fake ass twat. And let me tell you something about fake ass twat, honey. Fake ass twat is allegedly gay.
Okay.
He says he's gay, but I don't even think he's kissed a boy yet. And now he's
So
in his.
is he is or is he ain't?
Well, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's gay. The young man says he's gay, so I think he's gay. Whatever. But
Okay.
he would like for me to ask you, what do you think about Savo Pancakes and Edwin's relationship?
Okay, look, dude, we've already established I don't follow this stuff. I don't know.
Well, now you've
I don't
heard me.
know.
You've heard me talk about Savo Pancakes. I'm pretty sure I've talked to you about that.
What's give me a short version.
He was a guy who allegedly had all these online relationships that he was having with these young ladies that involved different kinds of kinks involving urine and other things. He had a three-way sexual relationship between him and this young lady and this other guy. And all this stuff was going on while he was married.
Okay. So he's a cheater?
Yes, that would be appropriate description that he is. Yes, he is an adulterer. Yes, a cheater.
So why are we worried about him?
Well, I'm not. Fake is. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, fake. He's going to hell in a handbasket. Okay. There you go. There's your answer.
All right, guys, you heard it. Hell in a handbasket. Listen, guys, you think I'm based? You guys have no idea what based is. If I got her loose on talking about some of the stuff, y'all,
Y'all wouldn't have no more PeePaw, no Riveter, because he'd be canceled for a while.
No, I wouldn't be canceled. I'm telling they would love you because you cut no. See, here's the thing. You guys know how I'm accused of being too kind-hearted, and I'm soft, and I'm just wholesome and all that stuff, right? and you ain't wrong, right? Miss Riv, she's not.
I'm very judgmental.
She's judgmental. She does not have mercy in her heart for nobody. She's now her family, like me or her sons or like my mama or her mama, her brothers, my brother. She would climb up a tree and fight a bobcat if they'd done something to one of her family members, right? But if she don't know you and you do something stupid, listen to me when I tell you this. The words that she can use will cut you to the bone, and she doesn't mince them. And she's just boom. Fake says, it's okay, Ms. Riv. I don't know much about these people either. Well, Fake, then why are you asking? See, you're just trying to stir it up. That's what Fake does. He stirs things up.
All right, Fake, I got your number. And it ain't your phone number, okay? Let me make that clear.
All right. Well, listen, guys. We went over a little bit. We went about an hour.
Oh, a minute.
A minute over. You guys don't know what that's going to cost me. You guys don't know what to. Nat. Do you know who Nuada 6 is?
No.
You don't know who Nuada 6 is?
Is that my son?
That is one of your sons. He says the mighty Mrs. Riv, PeePaw, the dynamic duo. Such a dynamic duo that he won't even buy his daddy a steak. So, anyway. Tell her I'm another loser on the internet. I think she knows that. I think she's well aware of that.
I didn't produce any losers.
Ooh. You heard that?
She that out there.
She didn't produce no losers, she says. So, anyway, listen, guys. At least buy Daddy's merch. Exactly. He could buy some of my merch, Mitch. Exactly. He could buy some of my merch, but he won't do it because he's a tightwad. He's a tightwad and won't buy any PeePaw merch. But anyway, listen, guys, I appreciate you tuning in with us and having some fun today. Hopefully we shared some insight, wisdom that maybe will serve you well. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Listen to me here, right? Now, we talked about traditional, relationships because that's what me and my wife have. But the advice we gave you holds true to anybody, right? So it doesn't matter. So that what I mean by that, Fake, is one of these days when you find that special, Mr. Right, look, see how he treats his mama and his daddy. Be good friends with them before you ever become anything else, right? Same thing for any of the young ladies out there. If you found someone, be friends with them. See how they interact with their family. See how they treat their daddy. See how they treat their mama. If they don't treat them with respect and grace and mercy, then they're not going to treat you with grace, respect, and mercy either. And let me just tell y'all something. That's not anything that you want in your lives. That's not anything you want in your lives. Anyway, so listen, guys. Take care. Remember to keep your powder dry and look for me in the funny papers.